Hello and welcome. You're watching the latest here on Mirror Now. I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. The top focus at this hour, viewers, is on Super Cyclone Amphan, which is all set to make a landfall in less than a couple of hours from now from the reports that we are getting. In fact, we are covering the latest ground situation from West Bengal and Odisha on Super Cyclone Amphan, which is likely to make a landfall in a short while from now. Following the IMD updates very closely, in fact, as per the latest update that came around 11:30 a.m., the super cyclone is about 125 kilometers from Bengal's Digha. That also, of course, now would be updated. Naval ships at Vizag are on standby to proceed to the affected areas for relief and rescue. These ships have divers, doctors, rubber boats and relief material. So all of this rescue material very much on standby at the moment. Naval aircraft also on the standby at naval air stations. The coastal districts of North and South 24 Parganas and East Midnapur, including the Sundarbans in West Bengal, are facing a threat of flooding and significant damage to life and property. In fact, to help us understand the current situation and the implications of it all, let me introduce my guests this afternoon. Mahesh Palawat, Vice President Meteorology of SkyMet, joining me, and also Jajati Karan, Senior Journalist. I welcome, gentlemen, both of you to this broadcast this afternoon. We would like to begin by understanding first the status of the super cyclone. Mahesh Palawat, you are, of course, observing the ground situation very closely. If you can give us your understanding of how things are developing, when and how will the landfall happen, what will be the immediate repercussion of it?
At present, this cyclone is extremely severe cyclone, and as it will move in northerly direction, it will encounter vertical wind shear in moderate to strong intensity. So there may be some weakening of the cyclone before making a landfall. So we expect that it may make a landfall just southeast of Kolkata, near Sundarban, or between 1500 and 1700 hours today afternoon. And at the time of landfall, the wind speed may be around 140 to 150 km per hour, gusting to 160 or 170 km per hour. And heavy to very heavy rains are also expected. And most affected districts will be 24 South and North Pargana, eastern parts of Midnapur, and many parts of coastal Bangladesh. Already, Paradip has received 214 millimeter of rain during last 24 hours, and Puri recorded more than 100 millimeter of rain. So we can say that most of the coastal stations of Odisha has already witnessed the brunt of this cyclone, and now it is heading towards Jajati West Bengal. Yeah.
All right. So it is still, something that is developing even as we speak. And therefore, with the passing time, the things are changing on the ground. But already, like you said, certain effects are visible because of the wind speed. Jajati Karan, from your understanding, typically when a situation of this nature happens, what is the immediate concern for the coastal areas? What should we be really prepared for at the moment?
Well, the first and the foremost priority is saving lives, and that's the motto of the Odisha government. When any cyclone approaches, the Chief Minister of Odisha gives 1 month to his entire administration. That should be zero casualty, and that is exactly what they are working around. As of now, unfortunately, we have gotten information that an infant has died in Bhadrak district when a wall collapsed in his house where he was sleeping. There are another information coming in from Balesur, where 3 people are injured when an uprooted tree fell on the tree on their house. So there are some incidents of casualties already coming in, but Odisha government seems very prepared. Remember, cyclone is nothing new to Odisha. In last 7 years, there have been 5 cyclones, and Odisha has been dealing it quite successfully. In fact, the Odisha model has been followed worldwide, and it's said to be quite successful. But this time around, what is different is that because the entire administration was dealing with the coronavirus for last 2 months, the administration, the machinery is quite fatigued now, and they are finding it difficult to deal with the same set of people to fight this, to deal with this cyclone, which is approaching very fast. So as of now, the situation is still grim as it approaches, and when it makes landfall at Sundarban, the wind speed in coastal Bhadrak and Balasore district will be around 110 kilometer per hour, which could be quite devastating.
It could be quite devastating, and that's what we are in fact understanding, because it is also very important to get an idea of the level and extent of damage it can potentially cause. So Mr. Palawat, if you can help us understand the nature and characteristic of this cyclone. We are hearing a lot of terminology around how it has now been recategorized as a severely cyclonic storm. What changes with that, when we categorize it in a particular way? Does it mean that the devastation level, the destruction level also can be more severe?
Yeah, when it is categorized as a category 5 cyclone, or we can say the super cyclone, the wind speed will be in excess of 200 km per hour, and the extremely severe cyclone will be around 180 to 200 or sometimes 190 km. And now it is going to make a landfall as a very severe cyclone. That's why we expect that it will be around 150 km per hour. So wind category defines the intensity and the nomenclature of the cyclone. So this wind speed, which will be around 140 to 150, in gust it may reach to 160 or 170, is also equally damaging, associated with strong you can say torrential rains. So we expect that potential damage to life and property, but still we can say the minimal damage will be to life, as IMET, SkyMet, Joint Typhoon Warning Center, all the agencies has given sufficient time for administration and disaster management team to make evacuation and preparation to minimize the damage to life. But property damage cannot be ruled out, because the such the extent of natural calamity usually take a toll on property damage and the infrastructure damage.
Right, so that cannot be ruled out. So what does it mean? Does it mean we will have damaged roads, we'll have trees uprooted? We are also facing this concern around whether there will be a massive electricity disruption. And coming at a time like this, when already states are trying to cope with the pandemic, what could be the big concern when it comes to these disruptions that are caused? You're saying that damage to property cannot be ruled out. So in terms of infrastructure damage, if you can help us understand what the state should be absolutely prepared for at a time like this, Mr. Palawat.
The pakka houses will be safe. The asbestos shade, the tin shed, the loose article will fly like derbies, and they may cause the damage. So that's why we are advising that people should not come out of their houses or in open until after the at least 4 to 6 hours after the making landfall, because until for next 4 to 5 hours the wind speed will remain very high, although there will be gradual decrease in rain intensity as well as wind speed, but still potential of damage is very high. Yes. For at least next 4 to 5 hours after the landfall of cyclone. The uprooting of trees, the damage to electricity poles, electricity wires, TV towers, mobile towers, all these is very, very common.
So that means, people will have, again, major disruption in their connectivity. Jajati Karan, that is a major problem, isn't it? Because at a time like this, when a lot of people are depending online on a lot of services, again, to face this disruption, how is the administration geared up for it? We just heard there will be heavy downpour, there will be high velocity winds, and it will leave a trail of destruction even as the cyclone recedes. So what we just heard from Mr. Palawat, for the next 3 to 4 hours, that kind of damage and destruction will continue. But specifically on the point of the disruptions, we heard the IMD director earlier advising people to charge up their gadgets and their phones. Is that level of preparedness being done on ground?
Well, preparedness is already there, but remember, Odisha, all around the globe, is fighting the coronavirus, and the people are already quite frustrated, and they are quite impatient. And at that particular time, when a disaster like a cyclone is hitting them, so it is making them life more miserable. So that is the reason why the impact and the consequences will be more, because there is also an economic assessment to it, and that would also further lead to the damage. But what we are talking about regarding the damage that the cyclone could cause, any wind speed more than 70 kilometer can uproot trees, they can uproot electric poles. So that will remain a problem when any cyclone of that intensity strikes. And this cyclone, it will be a very severe cyclonic storm. So definitely when the wind speed is over 100 kilometer per hour, those sort of infrastructure damage will be there. But the priority, as I said, remains to save lives, and that happens when you evacuate people before the cyclone strikes. And that is exactly what the Odisha government had done yesterday. They have evacuated more than 1 lakh people, 1,30,000 to be precise, to safer places, to cyclone shelters rather, because Odisha has already built around 600 cyclone shelters, and these are used when such cyclone strikes, because cyclone in Odisha is quite common. It strikes almost every year. So that is the level of preparedness the Odisha government has done.
Yes.
But the corona crisis is making matter more complicated.
Yes, Jajati Karan, in fact, what we hear is that even as you say that Odisha is used to it, it's a cyclone-prone area, many of the coastal areas have faced it before, but then coming at a time like this, even if you have those shelter camps, how difficult will it be to maintain social distancing, again to have the further restrictions or rather the precautions that people will have to follow because of the pandemic? What are the major challenges there in keeping both these things in mind, the pandemic on one hand, and of course making people, giving them alternate arrangements because of the cyclone?
This is exactly what the Odisha government was preparing for last couple of days, because most of the cyclone shelters were now being used as quarantine centers for the migrant laborers who are coming from outside the state, and they have been in lakhs in numbers. And most of these shelter homes have been cyclone shelters have been occupied by them as quarantine centers. So government was quick in finding alternative cyclone shelters where the vulnerable cyclone affected people could be shifted, and that is exactly what they have done. They have shifted more than 1,30,000 people yesterday. And at the same time, they are also maintaining social distance in these quarantine centers, so that the impact of corona is not forgotten when the cyclone strikes.
Right. Mr. Palawat, if we think of similar cyclonic storms that have happened, the one that caused massive destruction was in the year 1999, but a lot of lives were lost. Do you think we have made enough progress now in terms of forecast, in terms of technological advancement, with the kind of evacuation that has taken place? Are we better prepared this time around to save lives?
Yes, yes, definitely. Because in 1999, that time the satellite pictures were very limited. Now we are receiving high definition satellite picture. Doppler radars are there. We are tracking with the help of satellite pictures as well as Doppler radar. The extent of the damage is assessed beforehand, and we can pinpoint the time and area of landfall with very precision, with an error of just 25 to 50 kilometer, and there is enough time lag before making the landfall. Around 5 to 6 days in advance, a warning has been issued that it may recur towards Bangladesh, Myanmar, or Gangetic West Bengal, and it will skirt the Orissa coast. So there is lot of, you can say, changes in the technological changes are there, and the accuracy has improved tremendously, which has given enough time for preparation and evacuation. To disaster management team are also very well equipped now, and their coordination is also commendable. That's why we have seen now lesser casualty, very minimal casualty whenever any cyclone of such intensity strikes either Orissa, West Bengal, or Andhra Pradesh coast, because eastern coast of the country is most vulnerable, as any cyclone which develops over Bay of Bengal has a tendency to move in northwest direction. Sometimes it will keep moving in northwest direction towards Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Orissa, or West Bengal coast, and sometimes it recovers very rarely and towards Bangladesh and Myanmar. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that would be the overall trajectory. So Jajati Karan, one last question around, the concerns that people have, the fears and anxieties that they may have at a time like this. Are those being taken care of? Is the message reaching people? Because a lot of times discussions are held, guidelines are issued, but the person on the ground does not get the necessary information. How is the dissemination of information, creating awareness happening in the state of Odisha in particular for the affected people who are suddenly having to face another challenge in the middle of this pandemic?
Well, Odisha has a proper model in dealing with such cyclones because they have been facing it quite often, and that is the reason why they are able to face it quite successfully. They have a standard operating procedure. Remember in 1999 when super cyclone had hit Odisha, there were more than 10,000 people had died. And last year, when Cyclone Foni had struck, the casualty were in hardly in dozens. So the Odisha has learnt a lot. There is a proper model which is to be followed, and people do believe this model, and that is the reason why the casualty level could be reduced to such an extent. And that is the why people have faith on the government, and that is why the Odisha government has been able to handle this crisis quite successfully.
All right. Thanks for staying with us, Mr. Jajati Karan. I want you to stay on with us, but I would like to thank Mr. Mahesh Palawat for joining us. I want to introduce Director of IMD, Mrityunjay Mohapatra, who's now joining us on the broadcast this afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on Mirror Now, Mr. Mohapatra. Your word is being watched very closely. The information coming out of IMD is extremely critical for people to understand what is the status right now. When is the landfall really going to happen, and what would be the immediate repercussions for people to know and understand, sir?
This particular super cyclone Amphan took genesis as a low pressure area on 13th of May. From that day onwards, India Meteorological Department started issuing the bulletins, the press releases to concerned state government authorities, central government authorities, and various agencies. And accordingly, when the depression formed on 16th morning, the numbered bulletins in different stages like pre-cyclone watch, cyclone alerts, and cyclone warnings are being issued. So therefore, quite a good lead period has been provided to the various authorities to take various actions. And I am happy to inform that all the concerned agencies at state and central level, they are working in harmony, and they're taking all the steps for facing this disastrous weather event. I want to tell you that we predicted 3 days before that it is going to hit West Bengal and Bangladesh coast between Digha and Hatia Island, close to Sundarbans. We consistently went on with the same forecast, and now also we stand with that forecast. And within a few hours, and we are expecting from 4 o'clock onwards, the landfall process will start, and this cyclone will hit West Bengal, Bangladesh coast with the process of landfall starting at 4 p.m. It will continue till evening, and this system is located at present about 120 kilometers east of Paradip over North Bay of Bengal, and it is moving north-northeastwards. While it will be reaching the coast, it will have the wind speed of 155 to 165 kilometers per hour, gusting to 185 kilometers per hour. This wind speed is very disastrous or dangerous. It can cause large-scale devastation in terms of uprooting of big trees, large avenue trees. It can also cause the damage, widespread damage to thatched houses, mud houses, and tin houses, asbestos houses, the slum areas. So one point I just want to add here, this cyclone, while crossing near Sundarbans, it will also move north-northeastwards and will pass very close to Kolkata. Therefore, Kolkata city, Hooghly, Howrah districts also will be affected with a wind speed of 110 to 120 kilometers per hour, gusting to 135 kilometers per hour. So therefore, we can also expect the structural damages in Kolkata, Hooghly, and Howrah districts. In addition to that, this particular area where we are expecting the hitting of the cyclone, that is north and south 24 Pargana and Midnapur districts, has a very shallow seashore. And it is also a riverine delta because of the Ganga and Brahmaputra. So therefore, as and when a cyclone approaches in this area, you will have a very high storm surge or tidal wave. In this particular cyclone, we are expecting a tidal wave of 4 to 5 meters above the astronomical tide when it will be crossing the coast. This tidal wave also will start in the late afternoon, and during evening period, it will continue. 4 to 6 meter of tidal wave will inundate the low-lying areas of South and North 24 Parganas, and 3 to 4 meter height storm surge will inundate low-lying areas of Medripur districts. Not only that, we are also expecting heavy to extremely heavy rainfall. Already, we have the heavy rainfall in the coastal parts of the state. Digha has reported heavy rainfall at 8:30 hours IST, ending for 24 hours. Now rainfall is increasing, wind speed is increasing. Near the coast of West Bengal, now wind speed is about 80 to 90 kilometers per hour. It will gradually increase, becoming 155 to 165 kilometers per hour, gusting to 185 kilometers per hour. It is a multi-hazard scenario. You will have the heavy rainfall, you will have the wind, you will have the tidal wave. So all these three occur at the same place and at the same time. Therefore, it becomes disastrous.
Absolutely. So heavy rainfall, the tidal wave, and of course, will it result in massive flooding? Because in previous instances, sir, we have seen that the immediate impact is a tsunami-like flooding. So the after effects of the cyclone is quite disastrous even after it has receded. Is that likely to happen again? And what level of flooding should be expected over and above what you also mentioned about the torrential rains?
The low-lying area flooding because of the saline inundation. The low-lying area flooding because of the saline water inundation will be of the height of 4 to 5 meters, and it can extend up to 10 to 15 kilometers along the rivers. Therefore, the river banks along the rivers will have the salinated water, and this saline water actually affects the soil fertility. It affects the standing crops. It also affects the soil erosion, causing the uprooting of trees also. It also affects the mud houses in the path, which may collapse because of the soil water. So therefore, the storm surge is considered as a major killer. So therefore, people are usually evacuated. We have suggested the government to evacuate the people, and also government of West Bengal, and with the help of state and central government, they have evacuated the people from the low-lying areas.
Right. Yes, sir, very quickly, the do's and don'ts for people who are living in these coastal areas, also for the authorities. What is the SOP that should be immediately followed?
We suggest that the population in the coastal areas, which are likely to be affected, especially in the West Bengal coastal districts, they should listen to the authentic information about the cyclone warning. They should not believe in rumors, and they should not spread the rumors. The second point I would say that they should immediately move to the safe places if their house is not well built, if their house is expected to be damaged. The third point is that they should listen to the government instructions. They should cooperate. By that way, they can keep themselves safe, or also they can provide safety to the neighbors and the society. The last point I just want to say that this is a situation where we are facing the double disaster. We have got the pandemic, and also we have got the cyclone threat. So we have to face these two situations, and I hope, as this area has been acquainted with the tropical cyclones in the past. For example, Cyclone Bulbul has affected this area last year. Cyclone Bulbul crossed the coast of Sundarbans, that is southern northern Pargana, last year. Therefore, people are aware. So therefore, with this type of lead period, with this type of awareness through the media, the general public will cooperate, and disaster management authorities are fully geared up to take all the actions. We will face together this challenge and will come out victorious. One more point I just want to say that apart from West Bengal, it is also having the impact on the coastal Odisha. So already the impact in terms of winds and rainfall has commenced from the last night. We have the heavy to very heavy rainfall over north coastal Odisha districts. The wind speed also increased. The maximum wind speed of 106 km per hour was recorded in the morning today over Paradip. And at present, 70 to 80 kilometers per hour wind speed is being recorded over Bhadrak and Balasore districts. As the cyclone is moving towards the north, the intensity of wind and rainfall will gradually decrease from the southern districts of Odisha, but it will increase to northern districts, especially Balasore and Bhadrak. For up to evening, therefore, there is threat and danger on the north coastal districts like Balasore, Bhadrak, Jagatsinghpur, and Kendrapada in Odisha. And up to night, we have got the danger over South 24 Pargana, North 24 Pargana, East and West Midnapur, Howrah, Hooghly, Kolkata districts specifically. By tomorrow morning, this cyclone will gradually weaken, and it will lay as a marginal cyclone over Bangladesh, and it will not have much wind impact over West Bengal.
All right, we'll leave it at that. But one quick word from Jajati Karan on the preparations in terms of the teams that are working on ground at the moment. We are told that NDRF is actively involved, proactively trying to help people move to the shelter homes. What is the status of that process? And also the Navy that is now also being deployed in several locations. Can you give us a status of how these teams are operating and how effective is it so far? Because you were saying that already people are getting impacted by the gusty winds.
Well, this preparation have already been made, and 16 teams of NDRF and 15 teams of ODRAF, Odisha Disaster Rapid Action Force, they have been deployed at strategic locations. More than 200 units of fire brigade, they have been placed at different places to rescue people. So where these trees are felling, these teams are clearing the road so that communication is restored, so that rescue and relief operation can reach immediately after the cyclone is over. So these teams have already been placed at concerned districts, and the district administration is already geared up and they have been put on high alert.
All right, Jajati Karan and Mr. Mohapatra, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and giving us an understanding of Cyclone Amphan and the kind of effects it can have on the coastal areas of West Bengal and Odisha. Appreciate your joining us.